Tales of Xillia 2 is the direct sequel to last year's Tales of Xillia. Garnering a positive reception upon its release, many people were eager to dive into the world of Xillia one more time. Xillia 2 has received universal critical acclaim both in and out of Japan. Needless to say, I was hyped. The first Xillia blew me away with its dark and intricate story, amazing characters, and fun as hell gameplay. Did Xillia 2 live up to its hype? Let's find out. Just a warning though, since this is a direct sequel, there will be spoilers from the previous game. Taking place exactly 1 year after the previous game, the two worlds of Rize Maxia and Olympias have been united after the dispelling of the Schism. Mila has become the new Maxwell, and the rest of the characters have moved on with their lives. Jude studies spyrite, Alvin has become a salesman, Elise now goes to school and has become a much stronger person, and Leia has become a reporter. However, the story is not about the previous cast. Meet Luger Kresnik, a young Olympian who lives with his older half-brother Julius. After failing his entrance exam to become a member of the now famous Spurious Corporation, Luger instead works at a restaurant as a chef, since he's a hell of a cook apparently. After boarding the train to go to work, he meets a young girl named El Mil Marta, who wants to go to the mystical land of Canaan. Shortly after their meeting, however, the train is attacked by Exodus, and Luger is to defend El. After a myriad of events take place on the train, Luger and company are saved by a man named Rideau, who demands that Luger repay his services with a staggering 20 million gold, and the journey takes off from there. As you've probably heard, Xillia 2's story is much darker from most other Tales games, featuring almost no cop-outs that most JRPGs tend to do, as well as lots of blood and gore to top it all off. Women and children are murdered, people get executed, the story is just fucked up at times, and I love it. The story features many twists and turns, and each and every one of them made my head spin. Returning from Tales of Legendia are the character quests, which are side quests that you can engage in between chapters. These quests delve deeper into the lives of the previous Xillia cast, showing you what their life is like after the events that took place 1 year ago. The character quests in Legendia were one of the few redeeming qualities in that shitty game, and it was great to see them return, and I hope to see them in the future. Regarding the cast itself, Xillia has easily one of, if not the best cast of characters in the entire series, and they're just as lovable as they were before. However, I want to take a minute to talk about our new hero, Luger. For whatever reason, the Tales studio decided to go the Shin Megami Tensei route by making him a mute protagonist. I'm not really sure what possessed them to do this other than, hey, YOLO. During cutscenes, you'll be forced to make dialogue choices that affect, well, next to nothing, aside from the dialogue choices at the end of the game. When you complete the game and start a new game, plus you have the option of unlocking Luger's voice whenever you make a dialogue choice, making me wonder why this wasn't there to begin with. To be fair, first attempt, it's actually executed surprisingly well, but I still would have preferred Luger to have a voice of his own. All in all, Xillia 2's story is absolutely wonderful. It features a complex and intriguing plot, many plot twists, the same characters that we know and love, and many sad and heartbreaking moments. This is easily one of the best stories in the series and should not be missed.
Is he an agent? Enough of this!
Xillia 2's visuals are completely identical to its predecessor. It features the same dynamic cutscenes, environments, and the same awesome anime cutscenes by the godlike Ufotable. The recycled environments seem to be people's biggest complaint, and, well, I'm gonna have to side with them on this one. Every bland environment looks exactly the same, with no season changes, no new items to find, no nothing. While there are some new environments, it's not enough to compensate. The game also suffers from the same pop-in issue as the first one, which is unacceptable. Orally, though, the game is great. The dub, as it was in the original game, is absolutely top-notch, with the newly added Josh Grell as Luger, who is fucking awesome, and, surprisingly enough, Brina Palencia as Elle, also known as the Crazy Whack Job. And also fucking awesome, Yuno Gasai from the Future Diary. This woman is incredibly talented to be able to voice both a nut job and a cute and innocent girl. The dub is overall just spot on. I also have to say that the soundtrack is kick-ass. While it's mostly the same as it was before, the new tracks are absolutely incredible, and also has one of the best final boss themes that I have ever heard. I highly recommend checking out. Keep pushing until the sword is exhausted, go through like a bullet, breaking the time factor, betting on the last guide, and if it's for you, song for you. Also, the opening is god tier.
Job well done.
I prefer medium rare.
Gameplay-wise, not much has changed aside from a few minor additions. The combat retains the same link system where you can pair up with an ally to attack an enemy from the rear, and also perform link darts, which allow both you and your linked partner to do a powerful combination attack. Overlimits return as well, a state in which you can continuously perform link darts back to back. Also like the first game, AC makes a return, a meter with a number that shows how many attacks you can do before having to stop for the AC counter to refill. What has changed, however, is Luger's ability to switch between 3 different types of weapons on the fly, very much like Haseo from Daihack GU. Luger can use dual swords, a sledgehammer, and a pair of pistols, which suck. By pressing and holding the L1 and R1 buttons, Luger can instantly switch between these 3 different types of weapons, completely changing his set of moves and allowing lots of combo potential. To add even more variety, enemies now have what is known as weapon weaknesses. The name is pretty self-explanatory. Most enemies have a weakness to a certain type of weapon, and you can dish out tons of damage by attacking them with a weapon that they're weak against. Another new feature is Luger's ability to use what is known as the Chromatus. After a certain story event, Luger can use the Chromatus during battle. A circular meter with a number indicates the level of the Chromatus that you can use. At first you can only use level 1, but by the end of the game you can go up to level 4 after you beat the game, that is. The meter will slowly fill up during battle, and you can transform for a brief period and deal tons of damage to enemies and become completely impervious to enemy attacks. A lot of people seem to complain about Luger being overpowered, and this is just simply not the case. For one, the Chromatus doesn't feel like a win button, it acts more like a panic button. This doesn't make the game cheap, it's just a handy way to get out of a sticky situation. As for the weapon swapping, again, this doesn't make the game cheap, it's just there to compensate for the weapon weakness system. I mean, it wouldn't be any fun to fight an enemy with a strong tolerance to swords when Luger only has swords, right? After beating the entire game, I can safely say that Luger is not overpowered in the slightest.
Now, the ritual of destruction!
The character progression system is now completely different. Gone is the Lilium Orb from the past game, replaced by the new Allium Orb. The Allium Orb is very similar in a few ways to the title system from Graces. Each character equips what is known as an extractor, and each extractor contains its own arts and skills. Each art and skill has their own element, and by fighting battles, you'll obtain what is known as elemental ores, which pour into your abilities, and when you acquire the sufficient amount of ore, you'll learn that ability. I personally prefer the Allium Orb as it's much more flexible, and it gives you much more freedom than the Lilium Orb did. While I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the title system, it's definitely a close second. But now it's time to talk about the negatives. The biggest problem is the debt system. Between every main story chapter, Luger is forced to pay off a certain amount of gold before you can move on to the next main story chapter. And whenever you get a certain amount of gold, Nova will call you and force you to give her money. This is by far the most irritating aspect of this game and is obviously filler. The main way to get money is to do side quests, but there's only one problem. The side quests suck! Go buy this, go kill that, it's so fucking annoying. They're all the same generic side quests that we see in every other RPG. These types of side quests need to die. To be fair, it is rather easy to get money, especially compared to the first game, and once you get near the end, you'll be getting lots of cash from killing Giganto monsters, but this doesn't change the fact that it's just such an unnecessary system. I'm sorry. Like I said, it gets much more manageable as you go on, but I just did not care for it at all, and it was just totally unnecessary. The game is also, unfortunately, even shorter than its already short predecessor. The original game only takes about 25 hours to beat without side quests, and here it'll take you about a solid 20, although you can easily double the length by tackling the game's beefy content. As a whole, though, the gameplay is a ton of fun. Does it have flaws? Sure, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you'll have a good time duking it out with a bunch of baddies. Overall, Tales of Xillia 2 is a beautiful game that has everything that you're looking for in a JRPG. An amazing story and characters, lots of content, and fun gameplay. If you're new to this series, play Xillia 1 first, then play this game. I award Xillia 2 a 9.5, and it's definitely a worthy successor to the original game. Hope you enjoyed the review. Take care, everyone.